Hi guys, I just had a lot of fun. I'm just finished putting together one of the new Vignette alarm clocks from Spellbinders, and it is just so stinking cute. Look at that. Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'm going to be playing with the pop-up 3D Vignette alarm clock. This is just super cute. I think there would be a lot of different things that you could do with this just because of the way it's all built. I mean, we've got a base here, we've got a circle here, which screams at me like snow globe shaker. We've got a clock. You could use that on anything. Anyway, we've got a lot of different pieces. I think what I'm going to start with for this one though, and I know I'm going to be playing with it in other ways also, I think I'm going to start off with just the standard alarm clock because again, there are a bunch of pieces and I think it would be really pretty, and the best way to see what it can do is to kind of just use it, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and just start off by cutting out all of the different pieces. I've got 3 different shades of blue, so we're going to be going with a blue theme here and different layers. And I think that's going to be super pretty when we get done. Okay, I've got everything cut out. I've got the instructions in front of me. That should come with your kit. And I think I cut out one additional of something that I didn't need an additional of, but you know, whatever. So you kind of see I've got everything kind of layered up, so I'll see what it's supposed to look like when I get done. Now, what you need to start off with is this outline piece. This big outline piece. You're going to cut out that one multiple times because we are again creating a vignette. So for whatever you're going to use as your solid area, I guess, we're going to be cutting that out 4 times. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Then it said you need to cut out 1 additional in another color. It started off in the instructions says these are black, this one's white, and I misread and cut out a second one, but that just means I've got an extra, right? And this one we're going to actually cut off the tabs. So just going to go ahead and cut that off. And cut that off. Okay, so now we've got the tabs cut off. And this is going to be the base of our actual clock. These are going to be to basically hold everything together. It's got those little tabs that are going to go in our vignette side pieces. Just like the other vignettes that you've seen me make on this channel, this has got the little slits down the center for us to slide our little tabs into. And then it's got these pieces on the side where there is a perforated line. That's what it's called, a perforated line there so you know exactly where to fold it. So that's going to fold there. And then those, of course, are going to attach onto our base of our clock. So that is going to be pretty cool. Then we use the outside and this filigree piece for the next layer. So we can do 1 of those. Then we've got our clock layer with all of our numbers on there, and that one's cool. Then we use the next couple of dies. There is this one that just cuts some little details in there, and then there's the outline, which tells you this is a nice layering one, and you can add foam. Yes, foam is life. You can add foam in between to give it even more dimension. Then we've got another circle that is slightly smaller. Then we've got the pieces cut. There's 2 pieces that cut this, and that's this circle and the filigree piece for the inside, which also means you could use that filigree piece on to make kind of a, I don't know, a lacy kind of a background if you just die cut multiple times without a circle, or you could just do some of these little medallions, which I think are really, really pretty, and that's going to go on the top. Then we, of course, have got the little hands for our clock. Okay, got all of that. This goes behind it so you can see it better. There we go. Then we've got our legs. We need actually 4 of the base. So the reason for that is we're going to have 2 in the front glued together, and then we're going to have 2 in the back glued together, and that is going to basically hold everything steady. Having it done as a double layer there gives it more stability, and I went ahead and used heavyweight cardstock for this as well. So that should make this pretty stable. Then we've got our sentiment, and just like it did in our my last vignette one that I did, and I think it was probably also in the TV. So on the hot air balloon, we had the sentiment that's like these that does not have an outside piece. So that means you can use it anywhere. You can use it in the center of a card and kind of give that window look. So I've gone ahead and cut it out. And my intention is to just cut along the edge of my die there so that I've got a perfectly rectangle piece. So I'll do that in a bit. Then we've got the little bells and the little hammers that are supposedly going up inside the bell so that it can ring. Okay, so we've got all of those bits. Next, and yes, I do have two of these. Next, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling things. So I think what I'm going to do, this is going to be really pretty, and we can get that all done kind of at the end. So I'm going to put the face of the clock off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and build our vignette first. Okay, because I know that's the part that a lot of folks, myself included, we do sometimes struggle with. And what I struggle with the most is getting all of my little tabs to go in through the little slits. That is kind of where I have an issue. So I'm going to try to just kind of bend it a little bit. This is heavyweight cardstock that I used for this, so that could be part of it. On our, excuse me, on these pieces, there's also a little tiny slit right there at the edge, and this time around, and I'm just experimenting, okay? But this time I think I'm going to cut it just a little tiny bit further and see if that helps me actually get everything in there to begin with. I also noticed that they don't necessarily, everything lines up, but if you have them in opposite order, like if you have one turned upside down, then it doesn't quite fit exactly. So you do have to make sure everything lines up with that little tab in the correct direction. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about, if I can get these lined up. Okay, so I've got everything lined up there, but you can see this one is a little bit further up than the others. So that means I've got it upside down. And when you look at it, it also shows that's probably why they did this, is to make sure that you do have the little slits going the right direction. You know, make sure that all of your slits are going in the right direction. The way that I like to do it is just slide that one in with the slit at the top, push it all the way in so that that entire top of the slit is there, and then slide it up a little bit so that you can stick the rest of it in. And I have to say, just from doing the one, that cutting that slit a little bit more did help, but that doesn't mean it's going to work correctly. I don't know if it's going to make it an issue with trying to hold everything together correctly. So I'm going to try to do the next one without doing that adjustment and see how much trouble I have with it. Again, we've got this little slit here, and I'm going to have it going to the top, making sure it matches the one in the front. So putting that one in first, pushing it all the way in, moving that up a little bit so that the slit actually has this piece of cardstock going into the slit a little bit, and then pushing the rest through, and it worked actually pretty well. Awesome. Go ahead and do this with the next one. Again, we've got the slit there, pushing it all the way through on that one. It's also, I think, a little bit easier, number one, to demonstrate it, number two, to do it with these larger pieces, because it's, I don't know, it seems like it's a little bit easier for me to work with. Okay, so now we've got those three in. This is going to be the back, so that's one that we're going to be gluing all together at the end. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side with our other side piece. Okay, I was going to edit this part out, but I think it's a little bit important to notice. What I did on this one is, it looks like when you look at this, I've got it where the tabs are folding on the wrong side, right? So you could take all the pieces out and do it over, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it back on that tab so it's folded this direction. Now, the reason that we need this to be folded in towards the card is because, I'll use this one as a sample, we need to be able to glue this on right there at that edge, okay? So I'm doing the same thing front and back, just folding that in, and then I'm going to go and do the other side and get all of those inserted into these slots. Okay, so now I'm going to snip off the ends on this last one, and this is going to be the back of our vignette. So I'm just going to fold this down flat. That's usually the easiest way for me to make sure I get everything lined up the way that I want it. And I'm going to add some adhesive right here onto this tab. And then I can line this up. I'm actually going to line it up with the other side first to kind of make sure I've got everything in place and adjusted right. And then make sure it's lined up on this one too. Okay. Because if you put these crooked at this point, it could cause a little bit of issues. Not too much. You can pretty much straighten it out. Like I was just looking at it and it looked crooked. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some adhesive here. And I love this glue because it does glue pretty fast. Awesome. Pressing it down and just holding it in place for a minute so that has a chance to grab. And then when I open it, I'm going to test it the opposite way because sometimes they don't always want to lay flat both ways. And this one is doing great. Okay, awesome. So now we've got our box. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue our little legs together, the little base piece, and just adding some glue to the back of one of these and then lining up the other. And I think I'm going to put pretty side out on both of them since they are mirror images. It's like both sides are basically the same, so that works pretty well. And I'll just put a weight on that for a sec. And anything on your desk can basically count as a weight. And now I'll do the same thing with this other one. Putting some glue on the back. Leaving them both pretty side out just to give it a little bit more finished of a look. And swap those out. Stop recording. So I'm going to also cut off the tabs on the filigree piece. And then I'm just going to adhere that right down onto my lightest color cardstock. And the most important pieces that I think anyway to get plenty of adhesive on is going to be those edges right around the outside. Don't really need to fill it all in on all those little filigree pieces because, you know, they're going to be held in place because the ring around the outside is good. And we just line that up. That's another thing. All of these, they just line up right to the edge, and then just touching the edges together, you can make sure everything is perfectly lined up. Okay, now this one also needs to just sit and dry for a sec. Then we can start layering up some more bits. And as I go along, I can decide, you know, do I want more? Do I not want more? Okay, so the next piece to go down on here is going to be our clock. Now you could also cut out another circle that is right around the same size to go on there, but I think that this contrast looks really nice. And I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of this one. My thought is that for each of your layers, you just need to make sure that you've got a good contrast between each one so that you can see everything pop out real nice. Okay. Going to add some liquid adhesive to the back of my foam. And then since these are the sides, I know that, I'm going to line that up with my grid on my mat. And then I want to make sure that the 12 stays up at the top. Okay, so I need the 12 to line up with these center pieces and with my grid. The 12 and the 6 need to be lined up right there, so that this is a proper clock. Oh, that is looking good. I think for the next one, I'm going to lay it down flat. So just putting some liquid adhesive on the back and centering that on my clock. And then the next one, I'm debating. I think I'll have that one flat also, and then have this double side, this piece with the filigree layer on there being as our being as another one that's popped up. So let me go ahead and add that filigree on there. And this is the same size as the circle I'm putting behind it. And the main purpose for that is so that you can see it really, really well. It's going to pop. Love that look. Go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of this. And I can already tell from the angle I'm looking at it, you can see a little bit of shadow of those little numbers behind it because of that little bit of foam. So I'll put this down right in the center there. And then we'll add some foam to the back of our little medallion there. And I'm going to line that one up pretty much in the center and vertical, but I do want some liquid glue because I'm probably going to need to move it around a little bit. Okay, so having this piece here and that one there pointed at the 12 and the 6 should help me get everything lined up right about where I want it. Going with it right there. Okay. And then we've got our little hands. And these I am going to just glue in place. Another thought that dawned on me is on these we have this little tiny hole, which makes sense. These are the arms of the hands of a clock, and you would normally be able to have it held on by a mechanism, right? My thought is using a brad for this would be really, really cool. So I've got the second hand here. Yeah, I'm going to count that one as the second hand, and then we've got our hour and minute hands. And you can pick whatever time that you want it to be. Now, my sentiment that I decided to use is good times ahead. So that would go with basically any time. There's also rise and shine, which means you might want to set it for like 8 a.m. And then there's it's your time, which again is another one that you could go with any time at all. Or you can have a different type of sentiment instead of one of the die cuts. So I'm going to just, it doesn't really matter what I do on here. I'm just going to start putting these down. Let's see. Put one there. Add a little bit of glue to that little bit in the back. And I'll have it so it's not quite 2 o'clock. There we go. And then we've got our little second hand that is spinning around. I'm thinking it would be so cool to add this with a brad. And of course, I'm also thinking, is there a way to make it a somewhat functional clock? Anyhow, that is our clock to go on the front. And there you can see that little bit of shadow that is created because of the layers of foam. I think that turned out pretty cool. Okay, now we're going to add that to our vignette here. Actually, before we do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and add these bells so I don't forget to do them. And I'm going to just lay that over on its top. And then we can put these little guys in. Again, I'm using my mat so I can try to make sure that they're put in about the same spot on each side. Although, if I look at it from the front, if I put one behind, right above and behind number 11, and the other one right up and above and behind number 1, that should work perfectly fine too. So let's try that. So this is going to go right about here. It's like just to the inside of 1 o'clock. And this one is going to go just past 11. So right about there. And now I'm going to place them down and make sure that they're kind of in the right spot and kind of at the right angle. This one is a little bit shorter than this one, so I'm going to push it back down just a touch. Not that that part matters as much because we're going to put the bells over the top of them. Add a little bit of glue to the hammerhead piece. And then place my little bell down. And then do the same thing on the other side. I just glanced up into the camera and this is looking so cute on my screen. Okay, so I'll add this one over here. Loving that little clock. Okay, moving it down just a little bit because this one again was a little bit higher, and try to have about the same angle. Okay, so that I think looks really cute. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do at this point, this is the front and this is the back. I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to set my little clock to the side for a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and put my base on. So this is one of the base pieces that we did the double side. I'm going to just add a little bit of adhesive here. And put this on the back layer on the inside, okay? And again, I'm going to try putting everything, lining everything up on my grid to make sure it's straight, or straight-ish. I'm starting to think maybe I should have done this before I put it all together. Okay. That looks like it's about right, so I'm going to press it down and hold that for a second, then turn it over and see. Nope, it is crooked. It is absolutely crooked. I'm going to do that again. And this time I'm going to do it looking at it from the front and putting this behind it. And I'm going to bring the glue down a little bit more so I can get a good hold. This time I'm going to place it. Let's just place it there for a second, and then I can line it all up, looking at it from the grid here. Okay, so that now looks like it's about straight. So this may be the most difficult part of it, is putting the legs on straight. Okay, that does look like it's about right. Gonna go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to have to wait until after I attach my front of my clock to do that, to make sure that it's lined up perfectly with the other. So I'm going to add my glue again to those little tabs that we had for the side panels. And I can place this edge along that side. And I'm going to fold this one down, make sure everything is looking like it should be about straight, and it does. That's good. Okay. Gonna add, that one's gonna have to be re-glued. That's okay. Okay, just adding my glue on both sides. You can do it this way. Usually I do it the other to make sure everything is lined up perfect, because I am a bit OCD like that. This time I'm gonna just go ahead and go with it. So lining it up on this end, making sure that that piece is folded down flat on that side, and do the same there. And I do need to slide it up a little bit. Okay, so that looks about right. Okay, there we go. Because you want the curve to match the curve on your side panel tabs, okay? This is the cutest thing. Oh my god. Yes, the Amazing Paper Grace items do take a little more work, but the part that took the most amount of time was just doing all the die cutting. And you know what? I did all of that while I was sitting here watching a couple of YouTube videos with the camera off. Okay, let's see if that is about a match. Lining all of the things up, making sure it's all about where I want it. I think that I've got them basically lined up straight. So here's the moment of truth. Does it stand up? It does. Okay. I think I'm actually going to bring this one down just a touch, because I think the one in the back is a slightly down further on the cardstock than it is on the one in the front. So I'm just going to move it a little tiny bit, I think. Come on, let go and let me do it. Which means I'm going to reiterate. What I did is I had this highest piece here was a little bit further up under my clock, and I don't want that. I needed to match up right to the edge, which is how I did it in the back, and why everything was almost perfect. That's about right. Again, I'm going to line it up with my mat and see, is that about right? It's almost perfect. And it's a little bit crooked. Okay, I think that is pretty close. Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to recommend instead of doing it the way that I did, which I think still turned out super cute, is put the legs on the front and the back before you do the assembly. That way you can make sure they match perfectly. And I'm going to say that mine is close enough, and this is just adorable. Okay, now we're going to do the sentiment, which is that pretty much the last thing we have to do on here. And again, I just did one of these little bits that came in the kit, and I'm going to cut right along the edge. I think I'm going to start on this edge first. Right along the edge of the die. And I'm using a long-handled scissors to hopefully cut everything stay perfectly lined up. Long-handled ones are good for doing long, straight lines, where short ones, like my little short, very sharp Fisker scissors here, these are good for getting all that intricate detail and doing fussy cutting. Okay, so now all I need to do is pop out all of the letters and then put it on a backing. It's going to be hard for me to add it with the tip there, so I'm going to just add it with some glue on my hand. That way I can get plenty of it all over everything. Yeah, make a mess. Get plenty of it on all the little bits around all of the letters so that I can make sure none of it pops off. And it looks like I do need a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm just going to put it down onto this lighter color cardstock. And cut along the edges again, just like I did around that, that die to begin with. And I decided I want to pop the sentiment up as well. So I'm taking a little piece of the foam and I'm going to cut it in half. Because this is about, I think it's about like a 1/2 inch wide tape. And my sentiment is about 1/4 inch. So cutting it in half should make it right about the right size to go right behind it. And it looks like I didn't cut it exactly in half, but that is fine. And just trim this one down just a little bit more so it fits back behind the sentiment and it won't be seen. Okay. And we're going to just take off the release paper. And add a little bit of my liquid glue to the back just so I can make sure that I have a little bit of wiggle room just in case I need it. Okay, and I almost was going to go down this way. That's the wrong way. Make sure that your sentiment is right side up. And I'm going to put it across the bottom, oh my goodness, of my little clock here. Now that is stinking adorable. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. Well, you guys have a wonderful day. Remember, if I can make it, you can too. Check out this playlist to see all of the other projects that I've been made using some wonderful Spellbinders products. And yeah, this is so cool. I love the way that this one looks. If you do make anything using this die set, please, please, please tag me and let me know. And I would love for you to come and join me on my next live stream. I live stream every week, Tuesdays at 5:30, and I will leave a link down in the description, and I'll splash a link across the screen here for you too. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.